All right, all right.
Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Hey, we're live.
Welcome.
Hey, everyone.
Good to see you. For those of you who don't know, we were like,
You want to lead it
on?
off? You take it off.
It took a second for it to get started. Welcome, everybody, to our weekly Thursday Night Live. We're so happy to see everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Stephanie. This is David. We are toxic relationship recovery experts. And we're coming on tonight because whenever we do these Q&As, people always get really excited because they get to ask us all the questions that they've always had about healing from toxic relationships, about how we help people specifically, stories that we can share about what we've experienced helping other people, and all that really great stuff. So we wanted to come on, and we're actually streaming from a few different places today to be able to really answer questions to all of our different social media realms. So bear with us. If you don't get your question answered right away, please just make sure that you write the question anyway. And if we don't get it to you live, we will go back and respond. And of course, as always, if you are watching this as a replay, then make sure you tag David and I so that we don't miss your important questions. So if you haven't
those of you watching in the Facebook group.
That's true. And I'll say this too, if you are thinking about a question right now, go ahead and start writing some of those questions down now so that you have a second to put them down and get your questions.
We'll get to as many of them as we can. We want to make sure that we keep it within the realms of a reasonable length. But this
is going to go about 45 minutes. I'll say give or take. We like to say it's going to be 30 minutes, which never happens. Because we are here to serve. And so any questions that you have, feel free to ask those questions. So who's ready to dive in? Come and dive in if you are ready to dive into this Q&A, this live Q&A. We're excited to be able to share our knowledge. We have been toxic relationship recovery experts now I started this company in 2014. So it's coming up on 9 years that we've been doing this really important work. And, again, I think something that's really important for you, whoever's watching, is to know that one of the reasons why it was so important for me to create this type of environment and this type of group and social following is because when I was someone in a toxic relationship, I never really felt like I saw anyone that was like me. Media, when people talked about it or showed examples of people that were in abusive relationships, I never really felt like they showed anyone that was a professional woman, someone who had their shit together when it came to their business, their career. But when it came to relationships, they were a really big mess. And, I think that it made me feel so isolated because I felt like, no, that happens to those other people. It almost made it so that it kind of like made me feel like nobody understood what I was going through. And the interesting thing is the more I started to share my story of being in these toxic relationships, being the actual breadwinner in every one of the relationships I was in that was toxic, I was the one taking care of everyone monetarily. And I was with people that were nowhere nearly as successful as I was and really had no interest in. I saw potential, but I didn't actually allow them to be who they were. I wasn't really accepting. I wanted them to see the good in them and be able to up-level themselves. And here I was doing all these great things, and they were really enjoying all the fruits of my labor, but they really had no interest in not only coming up to my level, but they also had no interest they actually had a lot of interest, it seems, in trying to bring me down. And so I don't know if that resonates for anyone that's watching right now, because I think that's a very specific type of person that, we're very smart, we're very capable, we're educated, we have all these wonderful things at our fingertips, but we keep ending up with these toxic people in our lives.
Yeah, and one of the big obstacles when people come to us after the break, after ending that toxic relationship, is they have a sense that they're alone, that nobody understands. Mm-hmm. And in the, probably 4 or 5 years or so since we've been running the Toxic Relationship Recovery Group, our free private group on Facebook, which has grown now to about 15,000 people, it's pretty understood at this point that that's far from the case. You're not alone. And that's why we wanted to kind of come to you, because a lot of people rely on conventional methods, therapy, just watching YouTube videos, reading books and stuff like that. And that all has its place. But we take a bit of a different approach. And tonight we want to answer your questions, of course, but really focused around healing. What we found has actually worked, not only for ourselves, but literally hundreds of clients we've worked with around the world for many years now, very often when nothing else has. So the message here in a nutshell is that it doesn't matter how long you've been struggling, how things got screwed up for you in the first place. With the right support, you can make rapid shifts. And what I love to share is the idea that your desired reality, your desired life experience, whether that's being single or in a relationship, but particularly having a sense of self-awareness, confidence, joy, passion, and purpose in your life, that doesn't have to lie at the end of another 5-10 year road.
Yeah.
That reality is available to you far more quickly. Chances are we've got a number of our current and former Inner Circle members watching as well, and they can attest to it, having taken advantage of the community and the resources and the tools we offer to make dramatic shifts. And it never ceases to amaze. We love watching this. It's our joy and pleasure to be able to witness our clients and members transform. So this is really intended to be all about what works to heal.
And this is one of the things that, like, really, when I was able to end that toxic relationship, the final one, and that moment that I decided I'm going to do whatever it takes not to get back into that cycle again. And it was in that realization that I was like, I need a team, I need people. But getting that team together was definitely, that was why I changed. But it was because I took action. And once I started doing that and I started to say, oh my gosh, this is how life could be, I couldn't get off my soapbox. Like, I couldn't stop telling people how life could possibly be, because all of a sudden it was like these glasses that had been gray and the world had felt so dark and dim. Now all of a sudden I had like these rose colored glasses where the colors look brighter and everything about life just seemed so much more energetic and so much more beautiful. And I felt so much more empowered to create my own life. And I was like, I'm telling all the girls. Like, girls bathroom line, let's go. I'm telling all of you that this is what's going on, that you can create the life that you want no matter what. Because I got really tired of seeing so many beautiful women, and of course we work with men too, but we really focus on women, is to see these beautiful people that are not living at their best, and they're really trying to make things work with someone who is nowhere nearly where they are and are just bringing their lives down. And once you realize what's possible for you, life gets so much more exciting, and we're able to cut out all those people that are doing nothing but bring us down. Because you have a lot more energy when you're not dealing with that anymore. Sorry to cut you off.
No, 100%. But understand the key insight that Stephanie just shared. She made a decision. Okay, it's been said the first thing to do when you find yourself in a hole is stop digging. Okay, that requires making a change. When we talk about the cycle of toxic relationships, very often people don't understand that in order to change their lives, they need to change. In order to experience something different, they need to do something different. And a lot of times we put a lot of energy and emotional investment and hope and prayer that into the idea that things will get better. But unless you make a fundamental change, do something often radically different than what you've been doing, you're going to keep repeating these cycles. So we have phenomenal tools and support that works. But it only works if you do. And really that crucial first step is making a decision that you're going to do something different, even if you don't know exactly how that's going to pan out and what all the details are. Yeah. But take action. That's a fundamental first step that people who go from a life of misery to a life of joy and abundance really understand. So we want to encourage you to do that. And it doesn't require, throwing everything out the window and making a major overhaul. Very often it's a simple, subtle distinction. Start with one step in a different direction and compound it over time as you continue to heal your past and cultivate new healthy habits. It really isn't long in our experience before you start to realize something far better than you even dreamt possible.
So again, if you have questions, definitely write them in the comments wherever you're watching us from, whatever avenue that you're tuning in from. But I see it's not really a question, but I'm going to kind of turn it into one.
We've got some statements, but
but again, if you have any questions, again, make sure you write that comment. But basically, the statement is, let's see, I saw it over here. It was basically, I'm not ready to date. Did you see that one? I'm not ready to. Was there better? No, it's up here. hold on, just going through. Okay, 20 months since narcissist and not really into dating. I'm done trying until one shows me I'm worth it. I am not entertaining anyone. Okay, so I'm going to turn this kind of into I'm going to answer this a little bit. When we work with our clients who have been in these toxic relationships, the biggest key, and you might not want to hear this, anybody who's watching, is not dating. Because what happens with a lot of us is, and I don't know, tell me, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, but a lot of us believe that if we are not in a relationship, that there's something wrong with us. And, we go from one relationship into another one. And there's a few reasons why we do that. Number one is because we feel like we're getting older and we don't want to be alone and we have all that fear and all that kind of other stuff. The other reason why we do that is because we don't want to actually feel all of our feelings. So if you are noticing that you are a serial dater, what happens is you go right from one relationship to another. You never fully unravel all of the things that you dealt with in the past relationships and who you were before. And now you're going into another relationship with the same baggage, plus the baggage of the newest relationship that you're bringing into. And now, normally, this is what we see very often, is you're also creating another toxic relationship. So when we don't change the part of us that's attracted to certain types of people, we will keep going back to those types of people. So you really have to change what you feel that you deserve. You have to change what you believe is possible in a relationship. And the idea of like, all men are bad and there's no good guys out here and all those other things are all subconscious beliefs, which is what David helps with. But the more we believe certain things, the more those exact things happen. So when you work with us, we don't really want you to think about dating. We want you to focus 100% on you, probably most of you for the first time in your lives, really get to know who that person is. And then once you do that, then we call it, and any of my clients will say, I was laughing about this, educational dating. So then you're going out and you're saying, okay, I know who I am now. I just need to figure out what I'm looking for. And then you start dating and then you start saying, you're not going out for your new, significant other. You're just going out to learn. Like, okay, I like these things. There's certain things you might like or certain things you think you might like in someone else. As you start educationally dating, then you start to say, what type of person would I be good with? And then you start getting much more clarity on the type of person that would be a good fit for you, which is also important to keep in mind because a lot of the times when we started dating, we were looking to be a good fit for somebody else. We wanted to fit into somebody else's mold. And so here, when we start changing, and again, this is all mindset shifts. This is changing the way we've done things before. Because again, if you've done something a million times in the past the same way, you're going to keep getting the same results. So here, it's about doing something different, learning who you are, what you want, and that way you are actually attracting the right type of person instead of trying to prove yourself to somebody else. So hopefully that makes sense to you who are watching.
Yeah, that's an important point. And again, the reason we're not dating coaches per se, granted, romantic relationships are sort of the entry point to our world, mm-hmm. but a fundamental principle that we teach and coach to is the idea that the most important relationship is the one that you have with yourself. Mm-hmm. It's been said that you don't get what you want, you get what you are. And I believe that the fundamental quality of the relationship you're in has more to do with what you're bringing to it in terms of the energy, the way that you show up in these relationships. For example, if you lack self-esteem and enter into a relationship with any sort of neediness, you're going to foster a codependent type of dynamic, mm-hmm. and it's not healthy. So when we talk about educational dating and finding someone who's a good fit, that presupposes that you've done the work to become emotionally self-reliant, so you don't go into a relationship with neediness. You don't bring your baggage from the past into a new possibility, because the reality is you could find someone who on paper or in reality could be a perfect match for you. But if you're dragging along, these old patterns that you've been stuck with, unsupportive beliefs, particularly in terms of unhealthy levels of self-worth and self-esteem, and you're going to undermine the potential of that relationship from the get-go. So it really is about doing the work to heal that relationship with yourself. Mm-hmm. Understand genuine self-worth and self-esteem that doesn't depend on anyone else's opinions about you, your value as a person, their opinion about what you should be doing with your life, what you should want for yourself. And it's tremendously freeing. In my past, I used to enter into the dating world with, again, a sense of neediness, expectation, self-doubt, fear, worry, walking on eggshells, distrust.
Mhm.
And it just wasn't good. When I made the shift to hold myself in a higher level of esteem, dating shifted completely, and it was more of a joyful experience, even when it became clear that, okay, this isn't my forever person. I was more open, not controlling or manipulative in any way, shape, or form. And not only did I feel better in these relationships and these dating interactions, but it allowed the other person the freedom to be themselves without any worry about it. And it really changed the landscape completely. Then, of course, when Steph and I crossed paths among the stars and we came together, there was actually, our courtship was relatively short. It was all based on the fact that she and I had each done the work that was necessary prior to meeting one another,
Mhm.
so that when we came together, it was a natural synergy. None of this, manipulation or worry about anything like that. We were able to create something more together than the sum of each of us individually. So it's for a lot of people, it's a dramatically different experience than what you're used to, what you saw growing up, what you've been told that relationships are all about. And it's understandable. More than 50% of marriages end in divorce.
Mhm.
So many people are dissatisfied and frustrated with relationships. We're obviously seeing a ton of comments right along those lines here. So the message is, again, do the work on yourself, become your own best friend and lover, have a passionate love relationship with yourself, and you're going to show up differently and therefore attract a different caliber of person.
So now I see some people saying that this was their first toxic relationship, and I'm going to go ahead and just assume, I'm going to just assume, because I've been doing this for so long, that I bet you had other toxic relationships and didn't realize it. So we see a few different things happen when it comes to being prepared for these toxic relationships. Number one biggest reason is some kind of toxic environment growing up, whether there was something, alcoholism, whether it was sexual abuse, whether there was physical abuse, emotional abuse, drug addiction, abandonment issues, one of the parents left, or was a divorce. Those are the kinds of normal things that we see. And that's one of the reasons. So when you experience those kinds of things, that we see. Typical, that we see. Those are the things that kind of prepare us for these types of toxic relationships. Because to us, that's what love is. It's kind of what the normal thing is for us. And that's it's familiar. So, that's one of the things, again, we have to change what we believe love is. That's part of the biggest part of this process, is making sure that we shift that. The other interesting thing is that we also see where there are people that had lives growing up where their parents were like a storybook, like Leave It to Beaver. I'm trying to think what's the old, shows my age a little bit. But Leave It to Beaver, where the parents seem like these perfect parents and whatever. But almost the other end of the spectrum, where because things they were so good in that sense, their parents mistakenly didn't give them the tools to see that there was shitty people out there. And then they were too trusting of everybody. So now somebody comes around and they're like, oh, guys are great and they're really trustworthy. And then they meet this guy that is not those things. They have this belief that they're someone that they can trust automatically, and they give too much too soon. So we do see the pendulum swing either direction. I will say, though, that most of the time it's people that come from some kind of abuse and something else that's gone on for them when they were younger that has now, and it keeps adding on. So if you had an experience when you were younger, whether it's your parents or addiction or whatever else that happened for you when you were younger, you start believing subconsciously that life is harder, that it's not what you thought it was going to be. You have these lowered expectations, and we keep lowering our expectations. Maybe you've been told you're too much. Maybe you've been told of things like that growing up. And now you have these ideas that become part of who you are. So when you're going out and trying to meet people, you're saying to yourself, oh, I'm too much. I'm too independent of a woman. Relationships are hard. I have to work for them. And all those things are happening subconsciously, so that we actually lower our standards when it comes to relationships. Even though we are moving ourselves up and doing all these great things, we're lowering our standards when it comes to relationships. And then we end up with people that are just reliving and, reliving those same experiences that we had as a child, or those beliefs that we have that we are too much and that relationships are hard. So these things, and the good news again is that all that can be shifted.
Well, we've got a lot of comments, not a lot of questions coming in, but we did have some questions come in via email. Do you want to kind of jump in?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead, ask some questions. Okay. And again, wherever you're watching this from, just go ahead and leave your questions in the comments, and we will come back to them. And again, if you're watching this as a replay, just tag David and I if you're in our Facebook group so that we can make sure we get our eyes on it.
100%. Now, again, the context here is that we work with our clients within a framework we've developed and refined over the years that allows you to quickly end the cycle of pain and frustration, heal your past trauma, end chronic stress and anxiety, and really begin to align your subconscious core beliefs with your conscious goals and desires. Mm-hmm. So achieving the kind of life and health and abundance and relationships you want is less of a struggle and more of a natural unfolding. And again, some of you are new to our world. Others of you have worked with us within our coaching program. But the reality is that if you want to make a change in your life, you've got to do something different. And it's our joy, passion, and pleasure to be able to share, again, what's worked for us to allow us to change from, just years and years of disappointment. So we've had some questions come in about, this process, because, a lot of people don't really understand, for example, what coaches do, right? So we had one, and obviously, this is about doing something different. We have, if you're going to invest time and resources, not the least of which is money, financial resources into a therapist, into books, into, coaching, for example, people want to know if it's worth the investment. So we've had this question come in a lot, especially among people who don't know what coaching is really about. Now, we've talked about it before, and of course, Stephanie has degrees in psychology. I've studied at the school as well. She and I have also each been to therapists ourselves over the years. And I don't throw shade at them at all. There's a time and a place for it, but the reason that we decided to pursue coaching and develop the program the way we have is because it's more about looking forward. It's more about dipping into the realm of infinite possibilities as opposed to trying to just sort through all the clutter from your past and hope to move forward just by trying to make sense of it. Because what I found is that while seeing a therapist very often was a good place to just kind of get stuff out, get the shadow stuff into the light of awareness to begin to examine it. And sometimes I'd get conscious insights and understanding into things like why I should be kinder to myself, why I should forgive, my family and past abusive relationships and stuff like that. What we've discovered is that insight alone is generally insufficient to make real change in your life. So again, we took the route of becoming coaches and learning and practicing and using and developing, a set of tools that can actually help you create the future you want brand new, effectively, instead of just trying to rearrange old ingredients and hope for a new recipe. So in terms of whether or not investing in a coach is a good investment, we know this from personal and professional experience. It's really about investing in yourself and your future. Again, the key piece here is that you're committed to making changes for yourself. But what we've seen with ourselves and countless hundreds of clients around the world is, the benefits in terms of healthier relationships, better self-esteem, more personal power, better physical health, improved prosperity and financial abundance, greater resilience to stress and the ability to deal with inevitable change and loss in life, and a deeper spiritual connection. Really just overall improved life satisfaction is invaluable. And a lot of people who aren't familiar with the idea that the most successful people in the world have coaches ask and look at it in terms of a cost. And if you're going to get a qualified life or relationship coach, there's going to be a cost involved. But one of those key insights that success, especially professional, sophisticated, action-oriented, forward-thinking women understand is there's a difference between cost or expense and an investment, because it's really about the return. And I don't know about you, but ending decades long cycle of pain, frustration, anger, resentment, and stepping into a life where you feel joyful just waking up and being alive, not constantly overthinking and wallowing in self-doubt, being afraid of what the future holds, staying angry about the past, and reclaiming all that wasted emotional energy that you spend in fight or flight mode, and spending it on growth and healing and actually creating something different, especially when nothing else you've done before has worked and most people around you are still stuck in these old patterns. That's simply priceless. So, really, whether or not it's a good investment depends on what you really want for yourself. The unfortunate reality is that most people don't ever do anything significant to change their lives. And it's commonplace that people wind up on their deathbed filled with regret. For me, I reached a point where I couldn't avoid, looking forward to the future and asking myself, okay, if I continue on this path, if I keep doing what I've been doing, what is my ultimate outcome going to be? And then, a key insight is also understanding the best way to predict your future is to create it. And that's about making a change, investing in yourself, and really, honing a singular focus, recognizing that the tremendous value in pursuing personal development, personal growth. In our world, it starts with, again, breaking that cycle, starting to heal that pain, but then you can begin to transform, not just doing the same old, hoping for a different result, but literally transforming your personality, becoming a better version of you who simply thinks, feels, and behaves in a completely different way. And again, the reward here is a whole host of benefits of improving your life. And again, it doesn't necessarily happen overnight, but with consistent application, investing in yourself, not just money, but the time and effort, cutting the people out of your life who aren't supportive of that, it's going to compound over time. And we've seen time and time again that it's really not long before people look back and are like, wow, things are completely different for me.
Yeah, so it's really important for you to understand the difference between investment and cost. And of course, not investing in yourself is actually a cost because you're losing out on really living your best life. So really good question that we got there. Now, I saw something come up that said something about when I was in that toxic relationship, I was taught that once you got married, you stayed married. And again, if that resonates for anybody that's watching right now, just comment me in the comments, because I was that way too. I mean, when I got married to my first husband, who was physically abusive, sexually abusive, verbally abusive. He was not a good guy, and he was even using cocaine and, doing other drugs and whatever. And he was sneaking it. He would actually nod out from taking pain pills on the couch. And I was worried about him all the time. So here he was being abusive towards me. And then he was using drugs in my home. And because I wasn't as familiar with sleeping pills and cocaine and stuff like that, I was like oblivious in the beginning when he was like never coming to bed when we were first married. And I'm like, what's going on? And then he finally came out that he had been using coke. And I was like, okay, I was oblivious. I had no idea. But I thought, well, we've got to figure it out. Let's go to therapy. Let's figure it out. Let me get him help. And of course, this is one of the things that's really common with professional women is we start researching. So if that resonates for you, comment me. Sort of researching. Let me be an expert in finding out about drug addiction. Let me be a researcher in finding out about all of the things that were going wrong. And so here I was getting like this PhD in narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, sociopaths, all those kinds of things. Here I'm researching, and he's doing nothing. All he was doing, and in fact, he was actually even probably worse than nothing. He was telling me that he was going to therapy because that was the way that I was allowing him to stay in the house. And then he wasn't even going. He wasn't going to therapy. And then I caught him doing it. So he was like, oh yeah, I haven't been going. I haven't felt like it. So here I was doing all the work because I was told, I was brought up as in a Christian home, that once you get married, you stayed married. And I felt like I was really messed up for wanting to divorce this man and let him down and abandon him when he needed me the most. I felt like a horrible, horrible person. Now, again, he was abusive, But I was sticking around, and I was the one feeling bad for him, even though he was the one treating me badly. So it's really interesting how they're able to really just mess with our minds so much. They're able to manipulate so much, because he would make me very well aware all the time that he believed everything was my fault. So there was no responsibility for his behavior either, which is another thing that happens too, which is why when we do leave these relationships, we do need to make sure that we are doing the work ourselves. Because I'll tell you right now, these people that we've left that are narcissists, that are sociopaths, that are all these horrible toxic things, they are not going to get help. They're not going to create a great life, or they're going to have a pretend one. And this is why. Because you have to take responsibility to be able to heal. You have to be able to look at yourself and see where you're making mistakes in order for you to change it. But these people that we've been in these relationships with will not be taking responsibility for their behavior. So they're going to continue just doing what they're doing and messing up other people's lives along the way. So when we feel like we've abandoned and let other people down, what we're actually doing is we're reconnecting to ourselves and finally making ourselves a priority. And if you're watching this right now, here is your reminder that it's okay to make yourself a priority. You are not selfish for putting yourself first. Nobody deserves to be treated badly. And if someone is, and that's what I always say, toxic relationship recovery, that's what our expertise is. It's not necessarily narcissistic abuse recovery, because I'll tell you right now, it doesn't actually matter what their psychological diagnosis is. It really kind of doesn't. And again, this is someone who researched and has a degree in psychology and all of that. It really doesn't matter. Here is, if you're going to walk away with something, write this one down, is it doesn't matter what their psychiatric diagnosis is. What matters is, how do you feel when you are around them? Do you feel elevated? Do you feel motivated? Do you feel inspired? Do you feel good? Or do you feel drained, saddened, frustrated, less than, berated? Fill in the blanks for all of the things. That's what I want you to think about. And again, since we are in the recovery part and now the healing, because after these types of relationships, it's so hard to differentiate what's real and what was them manipulating us, that this is one of the reasons why it's so important to get that outside support, because we've got to change our thinking. Our whole nervous system is screwed up. We've got to start regulating ourselves again, being able to trust ourselves to make good decisions. And again, we can make good decisions when it comes to our business and our careers, but when it comes to these relationships, we've lost trust in ourselves. So we've got to relearn, and for some of us learn to begin with, how to trust ourselves so that we don't recreate this in another relationship and just do it all over again.
Yeah, 100%. And the principle is that, like they say in the safety lecture on the airplanes, if the cabin pressure drops and the oxygen masks fall down, put on yours first before you help somebody else. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people we work with, and a lot of you watching, have really big hearts, and you've enjoyed the benefits of reciprocity when you give freely to others. But the basic principle is that you've got to become your own source of validation, of love, of kindness, of appreciation. And doing this work, focusing on self-care, making yourself a priority, is not only not selfish, but it's actually a crucial part of having healthy relationships. Because, if you don't look out for yourself, right, and just try to save other people, if your partner is drowning in the pool and you jump in and they cling on to you and you don't look out for yourself, you're both going to drown. Mm-hmm. All right. So again, it can be challenging to navigate this, because it's not to say you want to swing the pendulum and become completely isolated and cold and callous to other people. Mm-hmm. But when you get the right leverage on yourself, you can make change very quickly. And literally, I mean, we've seen it in, with the high-speed mindset change process I use with our clients. We've seen dramatic transformations literally in a matter of minutes, healing that low self-esteem and trauma that's been trapping people for so long, so quickly that then they can fill up their cup rapidly and reliably. And then you offer to others from the overflow. As a Reiki master teacher for, this point, 17 years, that's one of the basic principles. when I offer a Reiki session to somebody, they might ask, well, how can you do this? Like, you're giving me your energy. That's not the reality. And the principle is that I allow myself to be filled up with universal life force energy and offer to my client from the overflow. This principle applies in healthy relationships as well. So again, it's important to recognize it's not selfish to put your own needs first. Mm-hmm. And again, the more quickly you recognize that and start to do that, the more quickly you can go on to fulfill your purpose to serve others and offer kindness if that's your goal.
Mm-hmm. So we're pretty much at time.
Wow.
I know that goes really, really fast. And of course, we might do this again next week. I really like doing the Q&As, like I said, because this is an opportunity for us to really interact and answer those questions, and really for you to be able to get into our heads and be able to have you answer whatever questions that you have. Now, of course, if you need more than this and you need to go a little bit deeper, you can always send me a private message and we can set up a time to chat. Again, this is a reminder. We have a guide section. If you're watching this not in our toxic
toxic relationship
recovery strategies for professional women. I always forget the second part. Strategies for professional women. Definitely go join that. But in there you have the guide section, which is filled with resources articles. We're part of Avaya University. We have all these different cool things that we're a part of. Go through those guides, and of course, set yourself a reminder for these Thursday night lives every Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, if you haven't done so already or were not aware, I also have written 2 books. You can see them actually right up there. Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt, which is that core belief of, if we believe that love is discomfort, we will create love that is uncomfortable. So when we start to shift that in ourselves, we will start to shift who we attract and who we allow into our lives. So my book, Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt, you can go ahead and comment the word book if you'd like in the comments, and I can shoot you a link for that. We can give you a signed copy or the digital, or the digital download. So make sure, if you haven't gotten that yet, and you've been watching the lives, you've been going through the guide section, or you're coming to us from another media source and you're not really into Facebook or whatever, just go ahead and get the books. If you're on TikTok, it's actually in my Stand store. You can go to Essentials Toolkit. That'll get you the link to the books. But if you have any other questions, feel free to send us a private message. If somebody wants to have us reach out to them, what should they do?
Well, just look, if you're ready for change, and we understand this is not for everybody. We offer a slew of resources, everything from free trainings in our group up to our one-on-one and group coaching. But if you're ready for change, comment change in the comments. Mm-hmm. Let's connect. Or again, whether you're watching this in the Facebook group, TikTok, Instagram, wherever we're streaming to right now, mm-hmm. Shoot us a private message. We're happy to share the resources. But again, it all depends on your commitment to doing something different. And, like I said earlier, nothing's going to change until you change, until you do something different. I know I wasted too much time in my life waiting around for things to get better. The reality is there's never going to be a right time to change. You've got to make a decision and take action. And I think it's readily apparent to a lot of us in today's world that time is our greatest asset. Tomorrow is not promised. Mm-hmm. So what the heck are we waiting on? Again, not saying you have to hire us, but we love what we do, and what we do works. We've been blessed to be able to witness profound transformation for a lot of people. So wherever you're watching, comment change or shoot me or Stephanie a message. We'll hook you up with some resources. And if it makes sense, even to hop on a call and give you a personalized game plan, we can shoot you a link to that. We've got limited spots on our calendar, but you can talk with Stephanie or myself, a member of our team, see if it makes sense to take action and implement some of these tools so you can start living your best life now.
Yeah, again, if you are on TikTok, you can go ahead and click on my Stand store, and you can go onto the Essentials Toolkit, and you can get my book and even a session with me there. I do see one kind of statement again, but I want to be able to address this live. And again, if you're watching this as a replay, make sure that you're still asking those questions and tag David and I so that we can see them. If you have not yet joined our Facebook group, Toxic Relationship Recovery Strategies for Professional Women, please go ahead and do that. Make sure you answer all the questions to be able to get in.
Yeah.
But I see the statement that says, I felt exhausted, drained, and sad and realized it was not healthy. I got out. First step in self-love and healing. So congratulations on getting out. That was one of the biggest things for me that made me realize that I could not continue doing what I was doing. I had this, first of all, I had so many health issues, and that's, again, something that we see with clients all the time when they start with us, because we come from a very holistic perspective. So when we're helping clients heal, it's not just the mental health part, it's also just relearning how to take care of yourself, which, again, we put ourselves on the back burner to take care of.
Mentally, emotionally, socially,
spiritually. The whole thing is all the different areas of health. Right. So we've got to put everything back into balance.
New foundation.
And one of the things we see is that a lot of people come with health issues, whether it's, sleep issues or weight gain or, stressful thinking.
Stressful.
Yeah. Anything stressful. Knee problem. you name it. And I had PCOS, I had back issues. I had, my thyroid was failing. All these things that were going wrong. And I was pretty young then. I didn't feel like it at the time, but I was pretty young then. And, here I am, I'm 45 now, and
she's in great shape.
I'm in great shape now and in better health than I was when I was dealing with all that stress. And purely the fact that when you are able to get out and start doing the right work, all of a sudden you're more vibrant, you have more energy, and you're able to focus on yourself more, because again, all that energy that's inside of you is being used up before you can even use it yourself. Yeah. So now you have so much more time and so much more energy. And I will tell you that when I thought to myself, wow, what if, number one, I live till I'm really old and I have to live with this person for the rest of my life? Will I have lived my best life if this is what it was? And I remember thinking and feeling so awful thinking about it. But on the other hand, I also thought, what if this guy kills me and then I don't have my life? I'm not able to do any of the things that I'm doing. And the fact that I decided, you know what? I don't know what's out there. I don't know if I'm going to be alone forever. Maybe there are no good guys. All of those things went through my head when I decided to end that relationship. But I did the hard work of healing. So I got to a place, which is where we work with our clients to get to, of feeling so happy and so secure in who they are that they are comfortable, not only comfortable, but excited about life for the first time. Sometimes, we've had clients in their 80s that have never been happy. So no matter where you are at your life, it doesn't matter. We can decide right now to create our best lives. And when I decided to do that, I was able to completely turn my life around. And because of that, I'm here in front of you, helping all of you, doing something that I'm passionate about. I'm married to my best friend. I have 2 beautiful children. But if you would have told me 15 years ago that I would be on this side of the camera sharing my experience of overcoming and that I would be where I'm at now, I wouldn't have believed it. So again, for all of you who are saying, you know what, I've just been too messed up, or it's not possible for me to find something healthy, let me just tell you, that is your own subconscious beliefs trying to sabotage your future.
Yeah, the reality is it's never too late to make new plans. It's worth it.
Yeah.
And not only that, when you break through and achieve a life of balance and peace and optimism and freedom, you'll actually be able to look back on your past pain with gratitude. I was in a world of hell for half a lifetime years ago, and though I wouldn't wish that on anyone, I look back and realize that it had to happen, because now I have so much more of an appreciation for the life I'm living now. And I'm not special.
But the good news, you don't have to stay there. And that's really what inspires. Yeah, that's what is inspiring. So, I want to thank everybody for coming. We really appreciate it. We always love coming on to our Thursday Night Lives. Again, comment the word change. If you'd like us to reach out to you, feel free to send me a private message at any time. And for those of you who are watching on our other medias, you can always go to our Stand store, click on Essentials Toolkit, and you can grab those books and grab an appointment with me. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It was great seeing you.
Happy Thursday, y'all.
Happy Thursday, and we will see you on social media.
All right.
Bye everybody.